Hey there, scholars. So it's been a while since I posted on my YouTube channel for homework help, but I figure better late than never. So right now we are in the midst of our multiplying decimals unit, and just a little heads up, next Thursday, the 19th, will be our multiplying decimals test. So tonight for your homework, I want to assist you in getting you through some of these math problems using the three different strategies that I taught you today in class. So the three strategies that you are about to see are for various levels of learning. So the first is going to be an area model where my visual learners who like to use visual aids with their computation, this strategy will help you. And then moving on to number bonds, which is for my students who are a little bit more proficient with mental math. You'll be able to use a pictorial method. So not drawing a picture, but using a pictorial method to kind of map out your mathematical thinking. And then also for my more proficient and advanced mathematicians, using the distributive property to mathematically reason through your multiplication. So if you please look at your homework, we're going to do some homework problems using these three strategies. So I'm going to look at number 2. Question number 2 has two factors, 84 and 24 hundredths. So the first factor of 84 is a whole number. And then my second factor is a decimal. So here we go. First step of the area model. You need to find the expanded form of each factor. So I know 80 and 4 is made up of 80 and 4. And my second factor, 24 hundredths, is made up of 2 tenths and 4 hundredths. Okay? So we'll multiply one place value at a time. So 80 times 2 tenths gets me 16. 4 times 2 tenths gets me 8 tenths. 80 and 4 hundredths gets me 3 and 2 tenths. 4 and 4 hundredths gets me 16 hundredths. Okay. So this is pretty straightforward math, but for my scholars who need an explanation. So if I was to use a standard algorithm for 80 times 2 tenths, you could use a standard algorithm to solve that. That's another strategy that we use in math. So 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 8 is 16. 0 times 0, 0 times 8. 160. But then you need to think how many place values has my decimal taken up, and that's 1. Okay. Anywho, moving on. Don't let that confuse you. All right, here we go. Next, with our area model, we need to add up the 4 squares. So I have 16 plus 3 and 2 tenths plus 8 tenths plus 16 hundredths. When I find my total or my sum, my product is 20 and 16 hundredths. That is the area model. Now I'm going to use the same problem, 84 times 24 hundredths, but this time instead of drawing a model, I'm going to use number bonds. Let me show you how that looks. Okay, so we're still in the same problem, 84 times 24 hundredths. This time, if you are the kind of learner who does not need to have a visual aid, you can use number bonds. It's the same idea as an area model. We're just no longer drawing boxes. So expanded form of 84 is 80 and 4. In the expanded form of 24 hundredths is 2 tenths and 4 hundredths. So now I'm going to write out my multiplication. So 80 times 2 tenths equals 16. 4 times 2/10 is 8/10. Moving on, I have, or where did I leave off? 80 and 2/10, 4 and 2/10. Oh, now 80 and 4/100 equals 3 and 2/10. And then 4 times, where did I leave off? 4 times, oh yes, sorry. Woohoo. Lost track. Is 16/100. So again, you'll add that together. And you get 20 and 16/100. Now this is very similar, it's just a little different looking for my distributive property. So same thing, you're going to take 80 and 4, put it in expanded form. The reason why I have my more proficient advanced learners setting up this problem using the distributive property is because in the middle school math, you'll be doing a lot of work using parentheses, expanded form. So I want to get you used to how that looks now. Okay, so I'll multiply my first factors, 80 and 2/10, which is 16. Then 80 and 4/100, which is 3 and 2/10. Then I'm going to multiply 4 times 2/10, which is 8/10. And then 4 times 4/100, which is 16/100. So again, you'll add these up to find the total of 20 and 16/100. Okay, let's move on to another problem. Let's look at number 9. Ooh, number 9 is a word problem. Let's check that out. So the word problem says, an object that weighs 1 pound on the moon will weigh about 6 2/100 of a pound on Earth. Suppose a moon rock weighs 11 pounds on the moon. How much will the same rock weigh on Earth? I'm going to solve this problem using the 3 different strategies that we have discussed earlier today. So we'll use an area model, a number bond, and a distributive property to solve. So here we go. My problem is number 9. Okay, we have 11 and 6 2/100. All right, so here's the dealio. When we are using an area model, we will find the expanded form. So the expanded form of 11 is 10 plus 1. And then we have 6, 0 in the 10th place, and then 2 in the 100th place. Okay, here we go. So we'll go place value by place value, and we will multiply. Okay, so 10 times 6 is 60. 10 times 0 and 0/10 is still going to be 0 and 0/10, because when you multiply anything by 0, the answer is a 0. And then we'll multiply 10 times 2/100, which is 2/10. Next, I have 6 times 1 is 6. 1 times 0 and 0/10 is still going to give me 0 and 0/10. And of course, 1 times 0 and 2/100 will get me 0 and 2/100. So we'll add these numbers together. We have 60 plus 6 plus 2/10 plus 2/100. I'm not going to bother with adding in the extra zeros. Okay, then I have 2, 2, 6, and 6. I'm going to solve this again using a number bond. So a number bond is just a area model without the boxes. So here we go. I have 10 and 1. And I have 6, 0 and 0/10, and then 0 and 2/100. So let's work it out. 10 times 6 is 60. 10 times 0 is 0. And 2 times 2/100 is 2/10. Then I'm going to add 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 0 is 0. And 1 times 2/10 is, 2/100 is 2/100. When I add this together, I still get the same answer as 66 and 22/100. Now let's do the same work, but with a distributive property. So I have 10 plus 1 times 6 plus 0 plus 2/100. So when I multiply, I have 10 times 6, 60. 10 times 0 is 0. 10 times 2/100 is 2/10. And then I'm going to add on my product of 1 times 6, which is 6. 1 times 0, and then 1 times 2/100. When I add it together, 66 and 22/100. All right, scholars, so you have to do numbers 3 through 8 and 10 on your own. Continue to use these strategies, whichever one works best for you. Come in Monday with any questions. Other than that, have a great weekend.